This is the Citroen eC4x, and it's kind of like the car version of a sea cow, because like the manatee, it's rare, it's unusual, it's a bit bulbous, and no one really knows why it exists. So join us as we dive into the deep and find out why. Citroen says the design of the eC4x mixes the best bits of a hatchback and an SUV. To me, it just looks like a saloon car that's been put on stilts for extra comfort, and we'll test out the comfort later on. It's a bit like a French Polestar too. I kind of think it's a design that looks as if it's a bit from the 1980s. And go down to the comments and tell us if you think it looks nice. In terms of size, I know it's hard to judge size on an internet video, but it's 4.6 meters long, which is about the same as your average family SUV, such as a Ford Kuga. Now you're all smart people, you've realised that E means it is electric, and it's powered by a 134 horsepower electric motor on the front wheels, and it can charge from 0 to 80% in just half an hour. And it's actually quite light for an EV, only weighs 1.7 tonnes. And that is impressive until you realise it's because it's got quite a small 46 kilowatt hour battery. And that's only really good for 200 miles in the real world. So yeah, you still can't have your cake and eat it. Now, one of the unique selling points of this car is Citroen's built it for comfort and not speed, and to do that, they fitted little hydraulic whoopee cushions to the top of the suspension. So when the springs and dampers have run out of ideas when you've hit a pothole, that just takes the edge off that sharp bump and you don't get a thud into your spine. At least that's the idea. We're going to test it out in a minute and we'll find out if that's true or just a cost-cutting measure. It is definitely comfy in here. I feel like I'm floating in an isolation pod. The seats have got 15mm of memory foam in them, like in a fancy high-end mattress, and they are stupidly comfy. They're massage seats as well. The interior otherwise is a mix of high-tech and high French quirkiness. I've got a nice 10-inch infotainment system that's got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Got digital dashboard. I've got some shelves for my phone. I've got wireless charging mat, which is a £150 optional extra on some models. And I've got USB-A and a USB-C. However, there is one feature on this car's interior that I've never seen before. Let's have a look at it. So you look on the passenger side of the cabin here and you think, oh great, I've got a glove box. As with most French cars, it's only half width because the fuse box is in there. But then what's this? Oh, it's a fancy drawer. And inside there's a tablet case. And you think, well, that's great. Why is Citroen giving me a tablet case? It's got a little kickstand on it. If you press here, you open up this little thing here and the tablet slots right onto that. So your passenger can watch films or whatever on an iPad while you drive along. I've never seen that before. It's very clever and, dare I say it, very French. Now, does the eC4x work as a family car? I've got child seat base here. The ISOFIX points you have to unzip to get to them. And then because the seat backs are really reclined, the metal hooks are really deep in there. So you've got to really get in there with your child seat base to fit them. I've never had a car quite like it, where you've got to push so far in to clip those ISOFIX hooks on. But let's see if I can get the seat on, and we'll check back in a second. So yeah, my big seat for my 2-year-old fits. Even with this base, with the leg on it, there's plenty of room back here. It's just a little bit of a fiddle to start with, getting the base in, but hopefully you only do that once every blue moon. Now I'm going to check to see if I fit back here as well, without the child seat, although some would argue I am a child. Rear seat comfort for an adult like me is actually really good. I'm 6'3", that's in my driving position, and I've got plenty of knee room, foot room, and headroom, and the seats are reclined really nicely. They're just as comfy as the ones in the front. I could fall asleep back here, frankly, and I might do once I've told you that you also get a USB-A and a USB-C, and there's an armrest here which flips down and it has 2 cup holders in it. Brilliant. Now, unlike the eC4 hatchback, the C4X has a saloon boot opening, which is really light and very easy to open. So 510 litre space, 1,360 if you flip the back seats down, but there aren't any clever levers with which to do that. In fact, there's nothing clever in the boot at all. No power sockets or anything like that, just 2 big metal hooks in the bowels of it. There's a little space under the boot floor for a charging cable, but that's your lot. It is a slightly narrow opening and there's a bit of a drop into it as well, so loading big heavy suitcases could do your back in, but otherwise it's a big space. It's all right, but what I really want to find out is how it drives. Well, quite relaxing, even when there's a van on the other side of the road squishing into a country lane. That suspension does work really well, taking the sharpest edges off of potholes, but it doesn't turn the ride into a magic carpet. It just means it's comfortable for the price. It doesn't suddenly transform it into a high-end Mercedes. Performance is relaxing as well. It's only got 134 horsepower. It's got brisk mid-range acceleration because it's electric, but it's not going to turn your underwear into a flaming loincloth. It's just brisk, basically. In terms of safety, it comes packed with all the usual tech you would expect: automatic emergency braking, radar cruise control, and lane keeping assist, all standard. And there are some options as well, such as blind spot detection systems as well. It's just a really relaxing, comfortable way to get from A to B. It handles neatly enough. It doesn't roll too much in corners. The only real downside I've found in a few hundred miles of driving this is the range readout is not that accurate. When you get up 70 miles an hour on a motorway, it really does start tanking on the mileage. I wish that was just a bit more accurate, not just looking at the past 100 miles or so of driving data. So yeah, in terms of efficiency though, by and large it's been good. I've been getting 4 miles per kilowatt hour, which is above average, I would say, for an EV. So maybe the slippery shape of this does help. But anyway, that's enough about how this drives. Let's go and do a conclusion. So what do we reckon of Citroen's eC4x? Is it a sea cow? Well, it certainly is quirky, and you're not going to see loads of them about thanks to that slightly weird looking boot, which does slightly hinder its practicality. But there are some positives to this car. At £35,000, it's quite affordable for an EV. And when these land on the nearly new market, let's say at Motorpoint, it's going to be even more of a bargain as well. Now, the flip side to that is that 200 miles isn't a great deal of electric range, but for some people it's going to be all right. But it's such a comfy car, you're going to want to do long distances in it, and that just really doesn't gel with the electric range for me. But it's certainly quirky. I'm kind of glad it exists because it's just not trying to be anything other than a nice comfy barge. Thank you ever so much for watching this video. If it has been helpful, please leave us a like and subscribe to the Motorpoint channel. It's got plenty more car reviews coming very soon. Now go and give some money to the manatees or something so they can eat this winter.